What would you do if a man or a woman walked up to the door, opened their coat, and had a bomb strapped to them? Would you run? Would you hide? Or would you charge them as they tried to type in the code to set it off? Would you partner up or would you fly solo? Would you use an object or would you go throwing punches? Once the bomb was set, would you still try to attack? Would you throw it out a window, defuse, or attempt a way to make sure that the bomb did not hurt anyone? Would you do it? Why? Why would you? In the face of death, some people do some extraordinary things. They may not work out in the end how they planned, but still somehow they work out. September 11, 2001 was a day full of havoc. It included the destruction of the Twin Towers and part of the Pentagon, which was caused by the crashing of 3 planes. However, there were 4 planes intended to attack, and one of those didn't go as planned. That plane was called Flight 93, and it seems that most of the people on the flight were traveling for either business or vacation. The plane was piloted by Captain Jason Dahl, who had changed his schedule for that day so he'd be able to go out with his wife on their approaching 5th wedding anniversary. Also aboard the plane was First Officer Leroy Homer. Leroy got his private pilot's license at 16 years old. He was 36 years old that day. The plane was a Boeing 757 filled with over 11,000 gallons of jet fuel, heading from left Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco, California. The plane departed at 8:42. A man by the name of Ed Ballinger at 9:19 a.m. informed pilots of the attacks on the World Trade Center. Flight 93 received this message at 9:23 a.m. And Captain Jason Dahl, born November 2nd, 1957, responded with an ask of clarification about this message at 9:26 a.m. Then, at 9:28 a.m., the terrorists entered the cockpit. There is evidence of a struggle that occurred in the cockpit and someone yelling, "Hey, get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here!" It is unclear whether it was the first officer or the captain. The flight kept transmitting during the struggle. It is known the captain sent out a mayday call, but we believe the terrorists killed them by slitting their throats. The recordings were found in the rubble of the crash site. The flight all of a sudden dropped 700 feet when the hijackers took over while being 35,000 feet over Ohio. A terrorist by the name of Ziad Jarrah controlled the plane and reset the autopilot. Jarrah told the passengers at 9:32 a.m. to sit down and that there was a bomb aboard. The passengers, huddled in the back of the plane, soon came to realize that this was part of a bigger attack on the U.S. But how does this define taking a stand? We'll get back to my last analogy. That wasn't an analogy on heroism. That was an analogy of what happened that day on that flight. You see, because 3 selfless people aboard that plane decided to do something about it. These people were Thomas E. Burnett Jr., age 38, Todd Beamer, age 32, and flight attendant Sandy Bradshaw, age 38. She always wanted to be a flight attendant because of her love for people and traveling and talking to people. Who knew it would end this way? Burnett called his wife, saying, "I know we're all going to die. There's 3 of us who are going to do something about it. I love you, honey," over the phone. Sandy Bradshaw had called her husband and explained she fell into the galley. She last said to him, "Everyone's running to first class. I've got to go. Bye." She filled pitchers with hot water, of which she planned to use against the terrorists. And over an open line, Todd Beamer uttered the famous words, "Are you guys ready? Let's roll." This is the legacy of Flight 93. The most known thing about Flight 93 are Todd Beamer's words. Let's roll. The passenger revolt began at 9:57 a.m. They began by charging the door. The terrorists realized this and tried to get them to stop, so they started pitching the plane left and right. The terrorists actually started to get worried that they were going to breach the cockpit, so they decided to crash the plane the second they got in. Later, the terrorists decided just to crash the plane, and at 10:02 a.m., the command was given to crash. We do not know whether or not it was just the 3 who tried to get in, or it was all of them who tried to get in. According to Burnett, he said there were 3 of them who were going to try to get in, but according to Bradshaw, she said everyone was charging. So who knows? And with the plane hurtling at the open field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, 580 miles per hour, the passengers didn't give up and continued to try to breach the cockpit. The common myth about the flight was that the plane crashed because the passengers couldn't steer the plane. They had breached and couldn't steer it. But in fact, the reason it crashed was because the terrorists got worried the passengers would actually break through and attack. The intended target is unknown, but many believe the targets may have been the White House and / or the U.S. Capitol. The people on board afterward were all identified, all 33 passengers, 7 crew members, and 4 hijackers aboard the heroic memory that is Flight 93.